What is Cargoz?
Cargoz is a marketplace for warehouses. Where to find the warehouse, that is the biggest challenge for SMEs. Warehousing industry is extremely fragmented. It is not the price, but it is the availability. It's ultimately going to benefit the customers. We will be able to provide that space within a day when you start a company. Before you go massive in the market, you want to test a lot of things.
I think this is something a lot of potential entrepreneurs should know about.
You imagine any mistake, I have done it. The first order, we got it for 90,000 dirhams. I had 45,000 check in my hand when we didn't even have the bank account open.
Welcome to Rising Sharjah, the go-to podcast for business insights and inspiration in Sharjah. Today, we're thrilled to welcome Premlal Pullisserry, CEO and co-founder of Cargoz, a pioneering startup often described as the Airbnb for warehouses. We'll explore how Cargoz is revolutionizing warehousing in Dubai and beyond, making it easier and flexible for businesses to manage their logistics. Welcome to the podcast, Prem.
Thank you so much for having me.
Let's start off with the inception of Cargoz. What sparked this idea in you?
This started with my previous idea. I had a startup which is an on-demand personal storage company, and we were growing really fast. And at that point in time, we wanted to have more warehouses. As finding warehouses in UAE is a little challenging. You have to go to Dubizzle or Property Finder, get the broker's number, then go to multiple warehouses, find that warehouse, then sign the lease, then clean the warehouse, put AC, put racking. This whole thing consumes at least 3 to 6 months of your time. And by the time you lose that opportunity to grow, I was thinking if I had an option to just go and take some space as and when I needed, that would have been great. That's where the thought started. And then from there, we took it over.
What were the initial challenges and how did you overcome them?
We had many challenges that usually an early stage startup has, just getting the bank account ready and getting the right team in place. But apart from that, we were building a marketplace and we had to find the supply and the demand at the same time. Marketplace in a warehousing industry was too much for the audience to take it. We have to step back and then start as a normal digital business where we had a landing page and then we build from there onwards. Getting suppliers on board with us to make them understand what it is was a little bit of challenge in the early days. And then finding the customers to understand what we are trying to build was also a little bit of a challenge. These are the initial challenges. Of course, there are many challenges that are there when you start a company.
Truly, what I think our audiences can learn from the last question is that life does give you second chances. And when you think you've made a mistake, it's not the end. You learn from those lessons and you come back stronger is what I believe is what the biggest takeaway from what you just said is. Now let's come into present day. The logistics sector, the warehousing sector is incredibly competitive. What are the points that differentiates Cargoz from competitors?
How we perceive is that we don't have any warehousing competition. We are a marketplace where we'll accommodate all the warehouses onto our platform. Having said that, currently our competition is the traditional warehouses that are there in the market right now. Once we bring them on board in our marketplace, this competition generally is going to go away and it's ultimately going to benefit the customers. It is competitive in one sense where the top layer or the top class warehouses are extremely competitive. But when you come to the SME sector, it is not the price or it is not the commercial terms that really matters, but the availability or where to find the warehouse. That is the biggest challenge for SMEs. Price has not been, in our experience, a challenge for SMEs. They're willing to pay a little extra, but please find me the right place at the right location. This is the biggest challenge which we are trying to solve.
The direction you're going with is quality over price.
We are not qualifying warehouses based on quality. Okay. So on our marketplace, we have 1-star, 2-star, 3-star, 4-star, 5-star based on certain features they have. As a customer, you can come and choose whatever type of quality of type of warehouses that you want. And one might think that the bigger brands or corporates and the enterprise will always go for the 5-star rated warehouses and the SMEs will go for the 1-star rated warehouses. But that's not the case. It is mostly what goods you want to store will define what type of warehouses you want to take. We had a 5-star hotel store their used furniture in a 2-star facility. But we had a small company who brought in servers who stored their items in a 5-star facility. So it really depends on what kind of products you bring that you want to store.
What we've seen about Cargoz is you've had a significant growth in a relatively short period of time. What factors would you say are the key factors in you achieving this?
It is mostly market driven as far as we understand. This whole warehousing industry is extremely fragmented, and the biggest challenge we initially thought was price, as you said, but it turns out it is not the price, but it is the availability that is the biggest challenge. We were helping, or we were assisting SMEs find warehouses at the right place with the right price. That kind of helped us grow faster. It's the customers that kind of helped us faster than us doing anything. I mean, be honest.
Going back to the question where you said you had a startup and you learned from those mistakes, they say failures are the biggest driver of success. Is there any one such thing or moment or decision which you reflect upon now and you feel like I learned from this?
If I had to summarize my entire life journey and learning, the failed startup journey by far stands out. I mean, I have in that 4 to 5 years, I learned so much that 15-year education couldn't give me. I mean, I'm not discounting the education part at all, but that was tremendous. And it is helping me a lot in this journey. I mean, there are so many things that people make. I mean, looking back at this whole journey right now, I can't imagine I made such silly mistakes in that particular startup. You imagine any mistake, I have done it.
I think it would benefit our listeners a lot if they got to know what these mistakes were, if you don't mind sharing it, so that they can be aware and not go the same way or take preventative action. Just a few you can think of at the top of your mind, which you feel, I wish I knew this.
It was a tech startup that we started earlier. So it started with my co-founders. You have to find the right co-founders. When I say right co-founders, that means complementing skills is what it really means. And you have to take money from the right investors. You have to make sure that you talk to users more often than that you think. And you need to stay close to the customers. We made a lot of products and features which none of the users ever used. So staying close with your customers and understanding the way they use the product and services is more important than anything else. So these are the top 3. There are many, but these are the top 3.
Which is now a success. Any moment or milestone in your journey which was like they call it the aha moment, where you felt like, yes, this is amazing, we did the right thing. Can you think of any such milestone?
There are multiple incidents that kind of gave us the confidence to move forward. So I'll start with the first customer. The very first customer we had was one of the biggest hospitality companies in the region. And the first order, we got it for 90,000 dirhams. And I had the 50% advance, 45,000 check in my hand when we didn't even have the bank account opened. That kind of gave us the confidence that yes, there is a big opportunity out there. The second one was when we launched our marketplace products. And we showed to our warehouse partners and they said, wow, this is something that I really wanted. This is the third one. And then we showed the updates we sent updates on WhatsApp, which is integrated to our CRM. And customers said, wow, this is good. I get pretty much live update on what's happening, which was not available earlier. Okay. So these are 3-4 such incidents where we felt that what we are doing is something that what people really want and gives us the energy and confidence to go forward.
I think another big milestone which I found out about is you're expanding to Riyadh, which is a new market. What would you say is the process of regional expansion, or what process have you followed?
So in Riyadh, we are actually doing a test/soft launch. We're understanding the market a little bit. It's not like UAE. It's a completely different place. Without you knowing exactly how and what you can do, you can't really expand to this place. So I really don't want to call it an expansion. It's more of a test that we are trying to do now. There are many things that you need to take care when you are expanding to Riyadh. One is time. You need to be very careful about how you time it and also how much time you really set for setting up the entire entity. It's much faster now, but it took longer than what we expected to set up things there. Riyadh is changing every day, every hour, growing really, really fast. What you had 1 year ago is not what you have today. I have a personal experience. In 2022, I want to take a visit visa, which was costing around 4,500 dirhams plus 1 month to get it. And in 2023, when I went to Riyadh first, it was only 300 dirhams and I got it in 24 hours. That's kind of a scale and speed that you're talking about. Things are changing really fast, but you need to be a little bit more careful about how you time it and the amount of time that or I would put this way, you should have enough and more time to set up your entity and everything else there in Riyadh before you can really think of expanding to Saudi.
And what would you say is what we can look forward to in the future of Cargoz? What do you have in the pipeline or the next big thing you're looking at implementing?
One of the biggest things which we are rolling out right now is the portal where customers can come and book warehouses like immediately. You are an SME, you suddenly got a call from your shipper saying that your goods is coming tomorrow, and you can go tonight, filter the kind of space, the location and the prices that you are looking for, book the warehouse, and next day you can bring the goods to the warehouse. We moved that 5 to 7 days of generally finding a warehouse to few, let's say, minutes. That's something that we are rolling out right now, which we are really excited about. That's number one. Number two, we introduced live updates for both customers and also for warehouse partners. These are the two major things that we are rolling out right now.
An audience perspective, in very simple terms, can you explain what is Cargoz?
Cargoz is a marketplace for warehouses. We connect SMEs looking for storage space with warehouses which has either unused or empty capacity. If you are an SME, you're looking to store 2 pallets of your goods for a couple of months, or a company who's looking for 5,000 square feet of space for 3 months, we will have the space for you and we will be able to provide that space within a day.
Amazing. I think this is something a lot of new entrepreneurs or potential entrepreneurs should know about, that such an option is even available to them. Which brings me to my next question. For small entrepreneurs or new entrepreneurs in Sharjah, can you tell them how Cargoz can benefit them?
I'll split the answer into 2 parts. Okay. First of all, as you mentioned in your earlier comment, that early stage companies or companies who are setting up, they need to be aware of such an option. I mean, I completely agree with it. One of the highest value we provide to the customers is this, that when you start a company, before you go massive in the market, you want to test a lot of things. And usually the companies spend early months testing their services and products. What Cargoz brings to them is that kind of an extremely cost-effective testing platform. What I mean by that is, let's say you are a small e-commerce company who's just getting into, let's say, selling some bags. You don't want to lease a warehouse, which space or which market is really good. Is it Dubai, Sharjah, or Abu Dhabi and all these things, without even knowing why do you want to get into a warehouse agreement, which is a year-long contract. That's number one. Number two, when you take a warehouse, you don't fill up the space from the day one. It takes 5 to 8 months to fill up that space. But you pay the entire rent for the first 5-6 months. We have done a calculation where we found out that the amount of money that you spend to get a warehouse in the early days, if you take the 6 months rent, that will cover your entire year's storage. How do you calculate that is, let's say if you want to lease a warehouse, you have to pay all the VAT in advance. You have to pay quarterly payment of the warehouses. There are many other charges that comes along with the yearly leasing. Just to give a small example, if you have to take a warehouse, let's say in DIP for 3,000 square feet warehouse, before you get the key in your hand, you will spend around 120 to 130,000 dirhams from your pocket. After that, you get the key and then you start cleaning and putting the ACs and everything else. Then you start bringing your shipment. This like 3 to 4 months is gone right there, and where you have paid your rent for that. That amount of money alone can cover your first year's operations if you use somebody like us. So this is one big value that people are slowly realizing now once they started using. We have many clients who came looking for a full warehouse, saw our services and never leased a warehouse at all. And they are able to bring 3 containers. We charge them 3 containers during that period. And as the sales happen, they reduce it to 1 container and we only charge them for 1 container. So there is a huge savings in that particular journey.
For them in terms of, managing their cash flow, and why lease an entire 3,000 square feet when eventually you're going to sell your stock and you'll probably need less than half the space. That's excellent. What do you want to tell entrepreneurs starting off from Sharjah? How can they approach Cargoz? What is it that you can offer to them to kickstart their journey?
There are a few things that we can actually really offer them, which has been value for Sharjah companies. We provide storage as a service, which means you can take storage services from us across UAE without actually getting into any year-long leasing contract. If you are a trading company or an e-commerce company, what you are essentially looking for is not a warehouse, but a space to store your items. Companies registered in Sharjah can actually benefit a lot from a platform like us. We are providing warehouse and storage as a service. Now, when you start trading or e-commerce companies, what you are essentially looking for is a storage space, not a warehouse. People think that they need a warehouse. They actually need storage. Now, we can provide storage from 1 pallet to 1 container to we have provided even 40 containers storage on weekly, monthly, even some cases weekly, monthly basis. So there is no commitment that you need to have. For companies registered in Sharjah, through our platform, you can have storage services from a free zone like Jabza or Hamria, or mainland storage from Sharjah, Dubai, Ajman, Umm Quwain, these kind of spaces as well. You can start as low as one pallet. We have even given a couple of boxes storage to companies who starting off, two companies. So we have even provided storage for 2 boxes, two containers within 24 hours. So it's fast, it's easy, and it's pretty much competitive as well in terms of price.
That's amazing. I think what stands out for me in our whole conversation is the ease of access and the flexibility which you offer to customers. That brings us to the last question of our podcast, which is personally my favorite question. And, our listeners may feel I ask this too often. But if you could go back and tell one thing to 20-year-old Prem, before you started businesses, probably when you were just out of your education, getting into a job, what advice would you tell the younger you?
If your plan is to start a business, you have to go and work in a company, preferably in the same industry that you want to start and the same sector that you want to start, at least for 6 to 7 years. Then you have a fair idea what it is that you want to start, and then start. I made a mistake of jumping into business right after my college, and it failed miserably. So I would never suggest something like that. That is something that I would have given myself as an advice.
Amazing, Prem. It was so nice talking to you. I think your advice is so spot on, because what is important is before you jump into the water, you learn to swim. And business is literally like jumping into the water. So when you work, you learn the ropes of what you want to build one day. And I think that's the perfect foundation and incredible advice for audiences today. Prem, thank you so much for joining us today. It was a pleasure and an enlightening session with you. Thank you so much. To our listeners, thank you for joining us on Rising Sharjah. Stay tuned for more episodes where we delve into the stories of business leaders who are making a significant impact right here in Sharjah. Remember to subscribe to our podcast to catch all the latest episodes. Until next time, keep rising with us.